Hold on to your hard hats, America, because the political landscape is shifting beneath our feet. The Teamsters, one of the most powerful unions in the country, have just dropped a bombshell. For the first time since 1996, they're refusing to endorse a presidential candidate. And folks, this is not just a speed bump for Kamala Harris, it is a full-blown roadblock. We're seeing a seismic shift in the labor vote, with blue-collar workers flocking to Trump in droves. The Democrats' big labor firewall is crumbling before our eyes. Now, listen up. Well, we're talking about rejuvenation. Let's talk about your skin. Countless Americans waste time and money trying to reduce wrinkles, missing the real culprit: decreased collagen. After 20, your body produces 12% less collagen each decade. That's why I take this magic secret powder. It combines the top 5 types of collagen for skin health, reducing visible aging signs and promoting elasticity. Get it today at 51% off at healthwithgary.com. Order now for free VIP coaching, a free ebook on skin-boosting foods, and a 60-day guarantee and free shipping. Click the link below. Your skin will thank you. Okay, some bad news for Kamala Harris. She is losing big. DonaldJTrump.com posting Teamsters non-endorsement is a blow to Harris, as rank and file stick with Trump. The Dems are losing their minds over the non-endorsement from the Teamsters for Kamala. It shows how scared they are of Trump. He's picking up massive support from everywhere. The entire Democrat Party is in freak-out mode, and here is AOC freaking out.
I find this to be very it's confusing, because when you actually look at our locals and we actually look at how these decisions are made, this is very much an aberration, I think.
Oh, yeah. An aberration? Maybe not. Remember this back in April? This was in New York. President Trump making a surprise visit to a New York City construction site. The Teamsters. MAGA hats, cheers. They are certainly happy for Trump. And here we go. Teamsters endorsed Obama in 2012, 2016, Clinton, 2020, Biden, 2024, nobody. And the liberal meltdown is in full effect. CNN completely shocked that Teamsters not endorsing Kamala Harris. I've also got a clip here of Trump reacting as well. Let's see how CNN responded.
This Teamsters. We have breaking news. The Teamsters Union will not endorse either candidate in this year's presidential race. Unions, a critical part, of course, of President Biden's winning coalition.
Is she crying there?
4 years ago. But this year, the Teamsters president spoke at the Republican National Convention, putting support in doubt. The union represents 1.6 million workers and retirees. Let's talk about it with CNN's Kayla Tausche. Kayla, this is something that hasn't happened in decades.
It hasn't happened since 1996, Brianna, and you mentioned that unions were a critical component of President Biden's winning coalition back in 2020, and Democrats had hoped that once again, especially after the policies put forth by the Biden-Harris administration, that it would be an easy win for Vice President Harris. Now, she has secured the endorsements for most major union leaders, but this one was always outstanding. And around the time of the Republican National Convention, when Sean O'Brien, the leader of the Teamsters, took the stage to deliver remarks, stakeholders at the time were suggesting that Teamsters officials had been saying behind the scenes that they could remain neutral in this year's race. Remember, union leaders themselves have a political calculus to make within their own organizations. They are elected in many cases, and they have to keep their membership happy. And in many of these cases, they've waited until their own internal polls showed exactly how their rank and file members felt before they came out with their endorsement. And many of those polls were conducted in recent months. The Teamsters poll, which was conducted over the course of 6 months with sort of a fast track in the last month when Harris became the candidate, showed overwhelming support for former President Trump in many cases. But in the statement that the Teamsters put out just a few moments ago, they nodded to specific proposals that they were unable to clinch with either candidate as the reason for remaining neutral. Sean O'Brien, who's the president of the Teamsters, saying, unfortunately, neither major candidate was able to make serious commitments to our union to ensure the interests of working people are always put before big business. He goes on to say we sought commitments from both Trump and Harris not to interfere in critical union campaigns or core Teamsters industries and to honor our members' right to strike, but were unable to secure those pledges. Now, to many following this situation, it's not necessarily a surprise given that this position had been more or less telegraphed for the last few months, but they had dangled the possibility of a change in that stance, inviting Vice President Harris to many roundtables with rank-and-file members to try to have these discussions with her, only to have the end conclusion be the same.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Here, they were talking about the Teamsters Union president speaking at the Republican National Convention. We've got a clip. This is from July 16th.
Greetings, delegates and guests. I'm Sean O'Brien, General President of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters.
I can only imagine what was going on in the Kamala Harris campaign when this guy took the stage at the RNC. They were probably just absolutely freaking out. And then today's news solidified their fear.
I'd like to give my peeps from the greatest state in the nation, Massachusetts, some props. What's up? First, I want to thank the hardworking Teamsters and union members here in Milwaukee who play vital roles in the building and operations of this convention. I also want to thank President Donald Trump for opening the RNC's doors to the Teamsters Union and inviting me to speak before you tonight.
Gotta love it, man. Gotta love it. Let's see. Here we have, okay, this person, I know firsthand dues-paying Teamster members are largely Trump supporters. When they vote, they're voting for their best interests.
This is their phone. It came out. We knew that there was going to be some announcement from the Teamsters about their endorsement plan. And they came out and said that they are declining to endorse either candidate in this election. But let's put up, if we have them, the polling from the Teamsters Union.
Wow.
This is their phone polling among their members, 58% Trump, 31% for Harris. And then they also had an online poll where Harris was 34 and Trump was 59.6. We know that they have historically, in modern history, or at least the last few decades, have always endorsed the Democrats. So is not endorsing sort of an endorsement?
Sort of it is. I mean, they did endorse Ronald Reagan during one of the times that he ran for president. But the bottom line is Sean O'Brien, who's the head of the Teamsters, said that he was going to be guided by that poll. Well, clearly he went back on that, because if he was guided by the poll, he would have to endorse Donald Trump, because most of the overwhelming number of his members. He
spoke at the Republican National Convention, which people probably remember.
And by the way, the UAW president, Sean Fain, another Sean, but Sean Fain said the same thing. He was asked when Biden was still running, just before Kamala came in, he was asked about what his members say. He said, overwhelmingly, my members are going to vote for Trump. And yet he endorsed the Democrat candidate. It's Kamala Harris now, of course. But the point is that the heads of the union are still afraid of losing that close contact with the Democratic Party, because they get so much from the Democratic Party. But the members are not going their way.
Well, yeah.
This is great news. I love this, man. I love seeing this. Okay, let's be clear. The Teamsters have endorsed Democrats since the 90s. Them not endorsing Harris is a no vote for Harris, is a vote for Trump. Let's see how Karine Jean-Pierre reacted.
Also put out its internal polling that showed that there was a pretty wide margin of rank-and-file membership that supported former President Donald Trump. To what extent is that a referendum on the work of this administration?
Look, I'm not going to speak to their poll. I'm not going to speak to the rank and file. Look, it is. We're talking about a 2024, obviously, an election that is just a few weeks away. I can't speak to that. I can't speak to their decision to endorse, not endorse.
The union also put out its internal polling.
She can't speak to it. Yeah, she hasn't got our talking points yet. Here's President Trump reacting.
Decision. Mr. President, any reaction to the Teamsters' decision not to endorse?
No, they were. It's a great honor. They're not going to endorse the Democrats. That's a big thing. And this is the first time in, I guess, 50, 60 years that that's happened. Democrats automatically have the Teamsters. They took a vote, and I guess I was at 60% or more. And that's a great honor. I mean, it's really... I've had a lot of Teamsters work for me, a lot of the concrete trucks. They built all these buildings that you see in New York City, the Teamsters, exclusively Teamsters. I have to say they've done a great job. But the vote of the Teamsters themselves was very high for me. And the leadership, Sean O'Brien and the group, who are great people, they said we can't endorse the Democrats. So I think this is the first time in many decades that they haven't endorsed Democrats.
Big difference in those big industrial states, you think? They're going to make a difference?
I think it will, yeah, I think so. The Teamsters carry a lot of weight. The Democrats cannot believe that. And, you know, look, this is, it was always automatic that Democrats get the Teamsters, and they said we won't endorse the Democrats this year. So that was an honor for me.
Mr. President,
that was an honor for President Trump. Let's see, we got some more here as well. Teamsters not endorsing endorse for president after their member polling gave Donald Trump an overwhelming lead. Let's see what he has to say here.
Convention. Whatever the critics out there, and they're very few in the leadership, whenever I get an opportunity to highlight the American worker, especially the Teamster worker, I'm going to take any and all venue. We asked both conventions respectively at the same time, and the Republican National Convention immediately responded to us, didn't try and edit any of our messages, and I was hopeful that the Democrats would do the same, but they didn't. I'm not upset about it, but I can tell you this, my rank and file members who have been lifelong Democrats are not happy about it.
Yeah, I know there were some members of the union who spoke, but that's not the same as having the leader of the organization speak. Very quickly, did you choose to speak at the Republican convention, which is a pretty unusual move for a union leader, because you feel that Trump has been more pro-labor than past Republican nominees?
No, not at all. I spoke there because it was the ability to highlight how important we are. It was the ability to call out the people, the corporate elitists, who forget who built this country, the American workers. You know, people like to, you know, have their own opinions on why we were there, but I was there to talk about the American workers. It wasn't an endorsement for any and all Republicans. It was strictly a message about how important and how valuable we are, and to let the people know that fight us every day, that we're not going away.
They're not going for Kamala either. What else do we got here? Okay, Dustin Grage spoke to a Teamster trucker. They were pretty livid that their regional chapter endorsed Harris Walls. All the truckers are voting for Trump. This is BS. A reminder that union bosses don't represent the actual members who overwhelmingly support Trump. DC Drano says, I'm confused. For the first time in 30 years, the Teamsters Union will not be endorsing a presidential candidate. They said they didn't have majority support among their members for one or the other. I'm sorry, but doesn't 58% count as a majority? It certainly does. Listen to this guy. Yesterday, nearly 60% of Teamsters are voting for Trump. Today, 70% of steam fitters local 638 voting for Trump, and it's an estimated 65 to 70% of UAW members are also voting for Trump. Listen to this guy. Whoops. My bad. Here he is.
Industries. In the UAW, I'm doing an auto plant rally every week at a different auto plant in the Detroit area, Bill. We're hearing numbers higher than that. 65 or 70% of the UAW members are supporting Donald Trump because the very existence of our industry is at stake. Now, with Teamsters, there's always going to be trucking. There'll just be less of it, but it's an existential threat if Kamala Harris is elected president to the auto industry, because she said she wants no gasoline-powered vehicles by 2035. Well, that will completely annihilate the domestic auto industry, and we'll be dealing strictly with Chinese-made vehicles within 5 or 10 years.
Byron Donald's posting that video clip. Here's this. The day after Teamsters released their survey results showing 60% support among their members for Trump, Steamfitters union member announces 70%.
Just getting into, I can tell you on my end, the Steamfitters have voted in the poll. We have a 70% return in favor of President Trump.
Wow.
Why?
Well, everything that's gone on the last 4 years, an open border, inflation, gas prices, oil, mortgage rates. I mean, I can go on and on. The immigrants just getting into neighborhoods like the neighborhood I grew up in, which I mentioned last night. I have a daughter down there. She's afraid to walk around. And this is a neighborhood I grew up in. These are where people worked hard all their life to buy a house in a nice neighborhood, and now it's destroyed by illegal immigrants. And like I said last night, too, to David Muir and Lindsey Davis, those two hacks from the moderators from the debate, they don't have to go to Springfield, Ohio to look at mutilated animals. They could go to right in Queens in a federal park, and you'll see them all over the beach. It's disgusting. It's bringing the property value down. It's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. So, Democrats in full-blown panic mode because they are losing the labor vote. And, okay, so we played through that clip of AOC. And now we have a clip from CNN of Sean O'Brien, Teamsters president, reacting to AOC attacking the Teamsters.
In our polling, she should maybe get into her district where it voted far Republican, far right Republican, and maybe find out what the problem is. When I have a problem in a work site and there is criticism, I get right in there and find out what.
What do you mean voted
is.
far right Republican?
In our polling,
she's a Democrat.
In our polling,
you mean among Teamsters?
In our polling, New York, her district, voted overwhelmingly Republican to support former President Trump. So she may want to focus on her job instead of mine. She should maybe get in.
So, folks, the writing's on the wall, and it's in big, bold letters. The Democrat Party's iron grip on union support is slipping away. It's not just about the Teamsters. We're seeing similar trends across the board. Steamfitters, UAW members, they're all jumping ship. The question is why? Could it be that after years of broken promises, working-class Americans are finally waking up? One thing is for sure, come Election Day, this labor revolt could be the game changer that reshapes American politics for generations to come. And now we want to hear from you. If you're a union member, what have you heard from your union bosses and fellow members? Comment below.